Hello, Bighara again with another installment of my video blog. Was sitting here this afternoon and was watching a DVD for a little bit, and it got me thinking about a topic that's been covered by other folks many times before, but I thought I'd go ahead and throw this out. Gamer films. These are movies which I think are great inspirational material for gamers, or movies that gamers would tend to like. And ones that I have watched, most of them many times, and enjoy a lot, and some of the reasons why I think they're great gamer films beyond necessarily the obvious. So, in no particular order, I'm going to give you 5 great gamer flicks in my humble opinion. Okay, number 1, not in ranking, just the first one I'm going to talk about. Conan the Barbarian with Arnold. Yes. A lot of people kind of talked this movie down a little bit, and I think it's selling it short. I think it was a great swords and sorcery flick. I think it was one of the better ones in the genre, actually, that's out there. I know there's a remake coming out fairly soon. The internet's been talking about that the last few months, but pulled out that DVD a week or so ago, and I watched it again. I hadn't watched it in a couple months or more, and it still holds up. I'm not referring to Conan the Destroyer, the one with Grace Jones and Wilt Chamberlain and all in it. That I would not rank among my favorite gamer films, although it is a gamer flick. I think there's plenty of stuff in there for gamers to look at, but just in terms of the quality of the movie, the first movie, big thumbs up. Second movie, no. But why? Why Conan? I mean, let's face it, Arnie's not an Oscar winner, but you know, he makes some fun movies. It's got a lot of the classic tropes for any kind of adventure. You've got your evil cult with your evil cult leader that's got, you know, snakes and stuff. That's always good fun. Your adventurers are real soldier of fortune thief types. They're out, you know, for things like revenge and loot and everything like that. They're not great heroes who are trying to save the world or anything like that. There's the most important reason, of course. Sandahl Bergman. I like it from a swords and sorcery perspective because there's not a whole lot of magic. You got Mako as the wizard, and you've got James Earl Jones as the evil cult leader, and pretty much that's about it. Oh, and then the witch woman, who kind of turns into a monster, which is never really fully explained, but I actually enjoyed that bit because it was just a great throwaway to, if you've read the Robert E. Howard stories, some of the crazy stuff that would just happen to our favorite Cimmerian from time to time. You've got things like, you know, the heroes end up getting just the snot kicked out of them sometimes. They get beat up, they get killed, they get injured, and all sorts of things happen to them. They're not these invincible, you know, machines of destruction. And, you know, another scene I love is when they've stolen the gems, if you've ever seen it, and they go on this just crazy carouse. They're out there, and they're just boozing it up, and they're dancing girls, and they're eating and drinking, and just, you know, buying stuff and wasting their money. And it's just the kind of thing I always picture adventurers doing. When, you know, if you hit it big and you came away from some dungeon after nearly getting killed by monsters with a big box full of gold and gems, I mean, I think you'd have a bit of a spree. I would. But anyway, Conan the Barbarian. If you have not actually seen the original Arnie movie, which I think came out in the early 80s, 1981, 1982, I would check it out. Definitely worth a Netflix DVD. I don't know if it's out on iTunes or not, but, you know, if you don't want to actually go out and buy it, if you haven't seen it sight unseen, it's worth a rental, absolutely. Okay, another movie from the 80s, which I may be dating myself a bit here, but I think is a great adventure flick, and it's a great one for D&D type gaming, even though it's not a fantasy, typical fantasy swords and sorcery type movie. And that is Big Trouble in Little China, one of my favorite films. This film rocks. I don't care what anybody says, it's an awesome flick. It's campy, it's a cult movie at this point, but for the people who like it, they love it. And I own the DVD and I watch it all the time. Some of the best one-liners in there ever. There's lots of action, there's lots of fighting. You've got your, again, it's almost like the cult. You've got the evil guys, the Three Storms, and the evil gang, and the big bad evil guy, David Lopan, who is running the whole thing. And it is sort of a save the world situation, so this is much more heroic. You've got wizards, you've got monsters, you've got a situation that's basically a dungeon crawl where they've got to sneak through the sewers and everything and come into the compound and then get through that and then have the big fight and everything. It's terrific. I mean, lots of kung fu fighting, explosions, guns. It's a great action film. And as a gamer or a DM, I think there's tons of stuff there that you can look at, both in the way the story is told and in the way that the physical setup, the way the compounds put together, minus some of the disco neon and stuff like that. But there's just great visuals in there too. And a really well put together film. I mean, John Carpenter really knows what he's doing when he's making his films, and the editing and the timing and the pacing is all great. Like I say, there's a lot of ridiculous one-liners in there, but they're hilarious. So that's a plus too as far as I'm concerned. It's fun, and that's part of the point of gaming, is having fun. All right. Next up is a little bit more recent movie, though it's a few years old now, and that is Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. The first one. I haven't actually seen any of the other ones, so I can't talk about the sequels. But the first Mummy, great action film. This is like if somebody wanted to do a Savage Worlds game based on a movie, and they didn't want to do Indiana Jones, I'd say watch The Mummy, because it's a terrific modern adventure in terms of 20th century modern. I mean, it's and you've got your hidden city with monsters and traps. There's an evil curse. Again, your adventurers, a lot of them are your sort of soldier of fortune types. They're not really noble, chivalric heroes. And one of my favorite lines, which I think a lot of Call of Cthulhu players would get a kick out of, is at one point I think it's Rachel Weisz, who's the female lead, who's the librarian. She finds the ancient book and she goes, no one ever got hurt just reading a book. And as somebody who's ever played Cthulhu or read Lovecraft, I think I just cringe every time I hear that line, because what are you talking about? Everybody knows don't read the books. But she did, otherwise it wouldn't have been much of a movie. Anyhow, moving along, not a single film, but a trilogy of films, and this has to be thrown out there. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies. Any one of them or all of them, really. And some people really like them, some people don't feel that they were true enough to the book, some people feel they were too long, blah blah blah. That's fine. I'm not arguing the merits of the movies as far as being a Tolkien resource goes. I really enjoyed them, but just for the visuals, I mean, the costumes, the sets, the makeup jobs done on the people and everything, the props, I mean, the swords, the armor, it's amazing. It's just to look at that is so much a gamer eye candy. Just to look at the elven armor, or all the work that went into the orcs, or the set for Moria, or anything like that. It's just stunning, and it's just so much inspirational ideas. I mean, Meduseld, the Rohan city, up on the hill there. It's just to see that and picture a medieval village on a hill in the middle of a steppe. I mean, it's just great. And I mean, it doesn't even matter if you're a fan of Tolkien or not, or whether you liked the movie's story or not. Just the visuals alone are worth it. And speaking for myself, I liked the movies. I really did. I mean, I own the DVDs and I rewatch them from time to time. My precious. I'm looking forward to the Hobbit movie. I thought Peter Jackson did a wonderful job. Do I think he did a perfect job? No, but I think he did a great job. Anyway, which brings me to the last of the 5 movies, which if I were ranking these, I might put at the very top for a gamer film, and this especially for like a D&D type film. And this is, of course, The 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas. If you have not seen this film, see it. This is the greatest. Well, alright, maybe it's not the greatest, but this is a great gamer film. This is a great adventure film for like a D&D type adventure mindset. Even though it's not a fantasy world. It's a fantasy story, but it doesn't have any fantastic in it. There are no elves, there's no unicorns, there's no wizards, it's just people. It's a great swords and sorcery kind of thing, minus the sorcery. but it's not just historical because it's all fictional. It's all made up. It's loosely based in some elements on Beowulf, but it's not Beowulf. Um, there's a lot of great action scenes, but nothing incredibly over the top. Everything you could see people doing, like in the battle scenes. There's no one, you know, being a superhero. There's no one, to borrow something from the Lord of the Rings, skateboarding down a set of stairs on a shield or anything like that. It's all just people fighting to survive and fighting to win the battle and everything like that. That has the crawl. They go into this cave at trying to find the priestess of this group that's fighting and trying to kill the villagers. The people are real adventurers. Some of them are hey, I'll go, and they might get killed, but they're going to do it just because they think it sounds like a great time and it sounds like something that needs to be done, and that's good enough for them. And this is a sort of aside. Antonio Banderas' character, who's actually is supposed to be an Arab, if you haven't seen the movie, no real spoiler there, you find that out in the first 2 minutes. And he's a poet. And throughout the movie, even though he's not this great warrior, he fights and everything, but that's not his focus. He was a poet. He, in my opinion, is the best bard ever. He's smart. He thinks things through. And there's several key scenes where you can tell the reason he's there is because they need someone to look at it with a set of fresh eyes, someone who's got some knowledge, someone who's used to using his brains more than his sword arm. But that's not like he saves the whole day that way. There's a whole lot of blood and gore and guts, and it's a grand old time. Saying that made me think of something else partway through, and I'm going to give an honorable mention to a film that was out relatively recently that didn't get terrific reviews, but I really enjoyed, and that was the Beowulf. That was, I think, a Zemeckis film, and Neil Gaiman helped write the screenplay for it. That was the one where they did the motion capture stuff. So a lot of people did not like that film because of the way it varied from the original story, but I actually really enjoyed it because the way it varied was very clever. It was saying, yes, we all know what the story is, and the story survived, but the reality might have been somewhat different because there could have been things that didn't make it into the story because maybe they were kept secret, or maybe it got distorted over time or whatever. But it was all, nothing in the movie that conflicted with the story was there without some explanation, in my opinion. And the action scenes and stuff were great. The fight with the dragon's amazing, or I thought it was really cool. It's just totally over the top, but it was a grand old time. And I'm going to give an honorable mention to that one because I think there's a lot of fun stuff in there, even though it's not the same kind of thing in terms of food for thought for gamers, because it's basically based on this poem that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. You can go read the poem and you're going to get most of the bits that you might find useful or interesting or fun to do in a game. But there's fun visuals and there's fun action and stuff like that, and I think that one's definitely worth a look at too. So anyway, there's my top 5.5 gamer films in no particular order, and if you haven't seen them, I'll try and provide the IMDb links, down there, and you can click on them and find out more about them if you like. That's all for now. Take it easy.